It's really an honor for us that you decided that you actually allowed us to interview you. So thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
If I can then start, for anyone who will be watching this, Minister Riyad Mansour leads the permanent observer mission of the Palestine Liberation Organization to the United Nations.
Now, I am the ambassador of the state of Palestine to the United Nations.
Yes, ambassador of the state of Palestine. I was just taking it from your website, so I try to do it as correctly as possible. Minister, if I can please start with the first question. You started your diplomatic service at the mission in 1983, according to your website. Looking back, how would you describe what is happening now in comparison, for example, when you were serving throughout the years?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And of course, in the span of the last 35 years, so many things happened. The global picture happened, changed, and the agenda at the United Nations changed extensively. So therefore, the question of Palestine was affected by all these changes. But currently, we are facing very difficult time because of this aggression against our people in the Gaza Strip and also in the rest of the occupied Palestinian territory, including the West Bank and East Jerusalem. But there is a carnage, there is a large number of civilians being killed because of this aggression by the Israeli occupying forces. The Gaza Strip, in which more than 10,000 have been killed, more than 4,000 of them children, 70% of those who were children and women and the elderly, vulnerable, segments of society. And we have about 25,000 injured and 1.5 million displaced. There is collective punishment by denying the entire population electricity, water, food, medicine. It is truly a crime against humanity. And half of the buildings and the dwellings in the Gaza Strip have been, completely destroyed, and about 1 million have been, transferred from the northern part of the Gaza Strip to the southern part. This is the situation that we are facing, and we are doing everything that we can in the Security Council, in the General Assembly, with the Secretary General, in order to bring immediate ceasefire and to stop this aggression against our people and to allow for humanitarian assistance, as suggested by the Secretary General, of the scale of a minimum 100 truckloads humanitarian assistance a day. Need more than that, but a minimum of that, and to stop crime against humanity, mass transfer, trying to push 2 million plus Palestinians from the Gaza Strip.
Thank you. On that note, as you are aware, the United Nations has launched a humanitarian appeal, and the United Nations Secretary General is appearing in meetings and trying to make statements. Are you happy with the actions the United Nations is taking, or would you like to see maybe more of humanitarian resources from the UN?
Of course, we need to see more. We appreciate the position of the Secretary General, who is calling for humanitarian ceasefire immediately now. Mm-hmm. And he said also that the Gaza Strip is becoming graveyard of children, and that crime has to be stopped. We appreciate these statements. We appreciate the fact that he went to the Egyptian side of the Rafah crossing and said, let there be a humanitarian ceasefire, let truckloads to start entering Gaza Strip, all parts of the Gaza Strip, in order to help the civilian population. There are thousands of truckloads and lorries, waiting, outside the Rafah crossing from the Egyptian side, ready to enter the Gaza Strip if they are allowed. the Israeli occupying authorities, they're using food, medicine, water, and fuel as a leverage, pressure the entire population in Gaza Strip so that the Israelis, accomplish the objectives that they are. So we hope that the entire international succeed. Of course, there are agencies on the ground. The biggest one, UN agencies. Biggest one is UNRWA, the agency after millions of Palestinian refugees, and they have 13,000 staff on the ground in Gaza, and they are now taking care of hundreds of thousands who took refuge for safety in the schools of UNRWA, facilities of UNRWA of the United Nations, and they lost 75 member of their staffs killed by Israeli bombardment. This is the largest number of UN staff being killed any military conflict in any theater of operation. So that this huge ultimate sacrifice that those UN have suffered is something that gives an indication a level of horror being inflicted by the Israeli forces, civilians and international personnel who are there in order to give assistance to the Palestinians.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. If I understood it then well from your statement, it sounds like you're rather satisfied with what the Secretary General is trying to do. He, apart of saying that, as you mentioned, it's a graveyard for children, he also said that it didn't happen in a vacuum. He was strongly criticized for that by some countries. Is it then safe to say that you're happy with how he is handling his statements?
We think that he is taking a principled, good position, and we defend him for these, statements that he made, as I referred to some element of them. Now, those who are attacking him are only one. It's Israel and the ambassador, and they are completely back from reality. He is Secretary General of it, and he represents moral power of the UN is to stop wars, to save civilian human lives. He is doing that to come to the Palestinians. Those who are trying to politicize his job and criticizing him, questioning his designation, are alone. They are totally isolated. They are reckless. They are extremists. They don't have any regard for human lives, especially Palestinian. While the Secretary General to express his outrage for the killing of so many civilians, including thousands of Palestinian children, and we respect him for making such principled positions. And we are cooperating, continue to do so, as he is what he is supposed to do as a secretary.
Thank you very much. If I may now, you also called on the UN Security Council to take bigger responsibility because they are not able to adopt a resolution. Would you put the blame mainly on the United States as being the biggest obstacle in this? Because as from what we learned, they said that it would disturb the negotiations. They also want to condemn Hamas in the humanitarian resolution. Do you see them as the biggest obstacle for adopting a resolution?
There was an opportunity by Brazil last month during their presidency in which 12 countries voted in favor of a draft resolution. And it was only the United States that cast it to veto. That's why we went to the General Assembly, United Peace, by resuming the 10th emergency special session. Had they not used the veto, it is conceivable that resolution adopted, regardless of whether you like every element in it, it's like. Now, the Russian Federation tried twice to put before Security Council two humanitarian resolutions. Unfortunately, they did not receive the 9 votes necessary for it to be considered or to be killed by casting a negative vote by a permanent member. The end results, Security Council was unable, after 1 month, this aggression against carnage against our civilians as Palestinians, the Security Council was unable to shoulder its responsibility by stopping this war. First thing that the Security Council is supposed to do is to call for a ceasefire, to stop the killing of civilians, to stop the war, and then to deal with all the issues that comes up. Fortunately, the Security Council, until this moment, has not lived up to expectation from all of us, from humanity, as being the custodian, maintenance of justice. This is war, threat to international peace.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. Have you had, if you may share, of course, have you had any meetings with the American mission in this regard?
As a mission, no, but there were some contacts because we have contacts with all members of the Security Council. But it is not, the Americans are not engaging in a substantive way regarding, products that is reasonable. We are saying that we want the United Nations to implement the General Assembly resolution, because the General Assembly was able to act and it acted, and it adopted a resolution containing 3 pillars. 1, ceasefire immediately, large amount of humanitarian assistance in line of what the Secretary General is. And thirdly, to stop the crime against humanity of the forced transfer and providing protection for the civilian population and to those officers who are providing humanitarian assistance. That resolution was adopted by 120 votes versus 14 that voted against it. Therefore, the overwhelming position is ceasefire immediately, now, save lives, send humanitarian assistance, and stop the forced transfer of Palestinians to create second Nakba after the Nakba that was created. And we are pressuring the Security Council and everyone else to implement that resolution. That is the only resolution in town. There is nothing else on the table adopted by the Security Council.
Thank you. You also appeared on a stakeout with the Arab group, or you, for example, had a briefing with the ambassador of the Arab League a couple of days ago. Are you satisfied with how they are supporting you inside the United Nations, your colleagues from the Arab countries?
Yes, we are satisfied. We have a very strong unity among all the Arab countries around the 3 objectives of, ceasefire, humanitarian assistance, and blocking forced transfer. And also we succeeded in unifying the Organization of Islamic Cooperation countries, because in addition to the many press conferences that we have with the participation of all Arab ambassadors, we had 2 press conferences in which all OIC, Islamic countries, ambassadors addressed the media as well. And of course, almost half of them are Arab countries, but yet there are about 30 other countries from other parts of the world constituting the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. We will be doing more of this sort, possibly enlarging, the block of those who stands and called for the implementation of the General Assembly resolution. In the coming days, if we not see ceasefire put in place, we might do more of that stuff, but a larger number of ambassadors participating in that expression of support for the implementation of the General Assembly.
Can you name, like, for example, which of the countries or?
We have 121 countries that voted in favor of the
Yeah.
So if we can mobilize all of them, stand before, we have to find a place where we can show this large number of ambassadors addressing the media. Once we find a place and a time and arrange the details of doing so, we might do it.
That would be amazing. It would definitely be something unusual and show a great support. I would love to participate in that. Thank
you
you.
will be informed.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Well,
Minister, if I can now ask, there are also many protests in many world capitals, of course, supporting Gaza. How do you feel about these protests? There have been many throughout the United States, throughout Europe. Are they putting extra pressure to stop this crisis?
we believe, yes, they are. The people are outraged in all corners of the globe. They look at the tragedy unfolding before their eyes in the Gaza Strip, in which they see children, civilians, and mass destruction of buildings and properties, and their hearts, get broken, as a result of this crime and tragedy. So they express their feelings in these large demonstrations, and they pressure their governments to take steps to pressure Israel to stop this carnage against Palestinians. And we appreciate any expression from peoples and governments and anyone who is adding their voice and their position and their action to the action of so many others who are saying ceasefire now, let's save lives, let's save the lives of children. And we hope that we collectively will succeed, hopefully soon, in bringing this war to an end and to stop this tragedy from continuing against the Palestinian people.
Mhm. Thank you. If I may also ask about your relations with Russia at this moment, how have they changed ever since this crisis started?
Well, our relationship is always with Russia. We have many friends within the Security Council itself, in the General Assembly, as I mentioned, the votings, and in fact, tomorrow there will be more voting on our resolutions. And we expect to have a large number of countries in favor. So we have, big support at the and we have many good friends, and the Russian Federation is one of them. And I think that the action of the Russian Federation in this council, putting, a humanitarian draft resolution, put them in a position in which about 17 or 18 Arab countries endorsed the draft of the Russian Federation, and many other countries, Muslim, such as Malaysia, so that these humanitarian positions by Russian Federation showing sensitivity, this issue that is so important to the Arabs, Palestinian, Muslim countries, is, I think, that gaining the Russian Federation more understanding their issues. And I think that all these things will come into play when there are positions to be put before them to vote on. They might not vote the way they did past, because they look at their friends and to be supportive to their friends versus those who are taking negative position versus the most important issue for the Arabs and Muslims, non-aligned movement, which is the
Mm-hmm. Moscow also recently had visit by the leadership of Hamas. What do you think of this step from Russia?
Well, I don't know anything about this specific, visit, but I know that the Russian Federation and even before them the Soviet Union were always close to the Palestinian political groups and movements, and they often invite them, whether collectively or separately, to consult with them and to exchange views on the latest developments related to the question of Palestine. And of course, we also know that Russia is a member of the Quartet, entrusted on the implementation of the roadmap that was supposed to lead to bringing into reality the constitution. And since we are the representative of one side that leads to the independence of our state, then we consult with members of the quartet, especially those who are active in this fight, whether in the past or whenever it is possible. So we consult continuously them regarding, finding a pathway for having this conflict that will bring an end to the occupation that took place in 1967, the independence of Palestine with East Jerusalem as its capital. So this way we implement the global consensus, the two-state.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. You also touched upon the quartet. Russia is blaming now the United States that it's sort of in a stalemate. Do you think the quartet can be revived and start functioning again as a group?
From our side, we would like really all the collective bodies, be it the quartet, council, an international conference attended by a larger member states, or states, or parties that can influence the situation in a positive way to bring us to the actualization of the Constitution. We welcome all these things. And I know that the political reality of today, and in fact for the last year, 2 months, made it not possible for the quartet to function because of the reasons of split and the negative feeling that exists between the United States.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. If I can touch upon, please, now.
One last question, because I have another.
Oh my! One last question. Damn. Okay. Let me see.
Well, because we've been doing this for more than 20 minutes.
Of course, Minister, whatever you prefer. Then I'm trying to pick some good one.
Why you ask good ones? All of your questions are good.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you. I am so happy to hear that. I guess I would be curious about your opinion on the United States. Now they are decreasing the foreign aid to Ukraine, or at least the Republicans want to decrease the foreign aid to Ukraine. However, there seems to be enough support to actually support Israel with foreign aid. Do you see this move by America as the main reason why this crisis and war could continue longer?
Well, I think that, Congress that is providing Israel limitless amount of weapons and financial support would encourage the current Israeli government to continue this aggression. We wish they don't encourage them this action, but encourage them to stop the war and to move in the direction of peace. But they are responsible for their decisions. Mm-hmm. But logic would say that if you want peace and to stop the fighting, don't continue with rules that would encourage one party. I hope that the American administration use its power with the leaders, tell them enough is enough, have to stop this. And we have to allow civilians in Gaza Strip to attend to the wounds and to start working in the atmosphere. Mm-hmm. I want to thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Really, I really appreciate that during such difficult times that you, devoted me some time. It's really great honor, and I really hope that it will end soon. And very, very sorry about what is happening. It's really tragic and it's terrible.
Thank you. When are you going to transmit it? I take it that it will be
we would love to
Russia or Moscow.
Yes, we are going to work on it. We have a big team in Washington, D.C. and in Moscow. So I will pass them the interview and I will be working on it with them, what pieces we are going to use. Of course, if you want, we are happy to run it by you first, or we can send you the results, whatever makes you more comfortable.
Okay, thank you very much. So you just tell me when you transmit it and where.
The results, right?
Yes, yes.
The results. Okay, really thank you and good luck, and please stay strong. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.